Welcome to the next portion of the book of Ezekiel, the scrolls of Ezekiel. Tonight, Abba willing, we will be covering chapters 13 through 16. There's a lot to share tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to get through it all. We have a lot of the prophets connecting and making confirmation, but a lot of the beginning and the end, as in Genesis and Revelations. So we're just gonna get right into it. And Yasmin, once again, thank you so much for volunteering to read chapter 13. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself.
And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel, who will prophesy, and say to those who prophesy out of their own heart, Hear the word of Elohim. Thus says the thus says the Most High Elohim, woe to the foolish prophets who follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. O Yasharallah, your prophets are like foxes in the deserts. You have not gone up in the gaps to build a wall for the house of Yasharallah to stand in battle on the day the of the Most High. They have envisioned futility and false divination, saying, Thus says the Most High, but the Most High has not sent them. Yet they hope that the word may be confirmed. Have you not seen a futile vision? Have you not spoken a false divination? You say, The Most High says, but I have not spoken. Therefore, thus says the Most High Elohim, because you have spoken nonsense and envisioned lies, therefore I am indeed against you, says the Most High Elohim. My hand will be against the prophets who envision futility and who divine lies, and there was no and, sorry. They shall not be in the assembly of my people, nor be written in the record of the house of Yasharallah, nor shall they enter into the land of Yasharallah. Then you shall know that I am the Most High Elohim. Because they have seduced my people, saying peace, when there is no peace, and one builds a wall and they plaster it with untempered mortar. Say to those who plaster it with untempered mortar that it will fall. There will be a flooding rain, and you, O great hailstones, shall fall, and a stormy wind shall tear it down. Surely when the wall has fallen, will it not be said to you, Where is the mortar with which you plastered it? Therefore, thus says the Most High Elohim, I will cause a stormy wind to break forth in my fury, and there shall be a flooding rain in my anger, and great hailstones in fury to consume it. So I will break down the wall you have plastered with untempered mortar, and bring it down to the ground, so that its foundation will be uncovered. It will fall, and you shall be consumed in the midst of it. Then you shall know that I am the Most High. Thus I will accomplish my wrath on the wall and on those who have plastered it with untempered mortar. And I will say to you, the wall is no more, nor those who plastered it. That is the prophets of Yasharallah who prophesy concerning Jerusalem, and see visions of peace for her when there is no peace, says the Most High Elohim. Likewise, Son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people who prophesy out of their own heart. Prophes- prophesy against them, and say, Thus says the Most High Elohim, woe to the women who sew magic charms on their sleeves and make veils for their heads of people of every age to hunt souls. Will you hunt the souls of my people and keep yourselves alive? And will you profane me among my people for the handfuls of barley and for the pieces of bread, killing people who should not die and keeping people alive who shall not live, by your lying to my people who will listen to lies? Therefore, Thus says the Most High Elohim, behold, I am against your magic charms by which you hunt souls. Their birds, I will tear them from your arms and let the souls go, and the souls you hunt like birds. I will also tear your veils and deliver my people out of your hand, and they shall no longer be as prey in your hand, and they shall know that I am the Most High Elohim. Because with lies you have made the heart of the righteous sad, whom I have not made sad, and you have strengthened the hands of the wicked, so that he does not know, not so he does not turn from his wicked way to save his life. Therefore, you shall no longer envision futility nor practice divination, for I will deliver my people out of your hand, and you shall know that I am the Most High.
All right, thank you so much. So right from the beginning of this portion, we're going to see that there is a lot of condemnation, a lot of correction for those who are speaking false words towards the people, making promises, false promises, much like what we see today in, in different denominations. I don't even want to just pinpoint one because there's a lot of deception all around and a lot of promise for what we could even perceive to be a golden age. If you think about politics, if you think about all types of promises that are being made that people believe that things are going to get better, um, which while they may for a little bit, that is part of that strong delusion because afterwards we all know what happens at the end. There is going to be judgment and the Most High is going to, exercise what he promised from the beginning. And we're going to see a lot of connecting themes tonight, again, in the beginning towards the end as well. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the connecting precepts. We have a lot of Jeremiah tonight because as we've discussed over the last few weeks, we know that Jeremiah and Ezekiel were prophesying during the same time frame, during the captivity of Israel and then Judah thereafter. So starting with verse 2. So I'm gonna, just go line by line. So we have connecting with verse 2, we have Jeremiah 37:19. That says, where now are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, the king of Babylon will not come against you or against this land? So right from the get-go, we see that these false prophets were making promises to the people that they were going to be okay, that Babylon was not going to come at them, claiming peace and safety. Just like, again, like what we are seeing this day in age. Everybody is celebrating the most recent election and how there's going to be a shift in the nation and things are like looking up, all of those things. So continuing, we have three precepts connecting to verse 3. Again, addressing the foolish prophets. And I also wanted to note that we see that there is that the Most High is addressing first the male prophets and then the prophetesses, the females, who were also spreading false hope, if you want to put it that way. So to the foolish prophets, we see Jeremiah 23, verses 28 through 32. And it says, the prophet who has a dream, let him tell a dream. And he who has my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is the chaff to the wheat, says the Most High? Is not my word like a fire, says the Adon, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces? Therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, says the Adon, who steal my words, every one from his neighbor. Behold, I am against the prophets, says the Adon, who use their tongues and say, he says, Behold, I am against those who prophesy false dreams, says the Adon, and tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies and by their recklessness. Yet I did not send them or command them. Therefore, they shall not profit this people at all, says the Adon. So we see again the power that there is when you say, thus says the Most High, or I heard the Most High say, because you're really, those are strong words to use. Thank you. Those are strong words to use, and you better have truth to back it up. That's why we're called to test everything with two or three witnesses when we're looking at scripture to confirm a matter. We also have Lamentations 2:14 that says, your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not covered your iniquity to bring back your captives, but have envisioned for you false prophecies and delusions. So we see right here as well that the prophets would never prophesy something like they wouldn't give um as we've spoken again, it wasn't a prosperity type of message. It wasn't a message of good things to come. Although, yes, they would say, this is going to happen to you for doing this XYZ. This is the judgment that is going to come upon you. But then they would also follow through with, but if you turn away from your wickedness, from your iniquity, if you change your ways, then I will remember my covenant with Abraham, which again, we're going to see a few of those precepts tonight as well. So then we also have Hosea 9:7. And shout out to Sister Liz, who did a beautiful breakdown of the book of Hosea. I have a lot of Hosea tonight because we're also going to be talking about the covenant, the betrothal, the basically the wedding vows, or the promise that was made when the Most High chose Abraham and made his covenant. Yes, let's give it up for our boy Hosea. Hosea who did the most, right? Who loved a whore in the physical to make that example of what the spiritual would be. So Hosea 9:7 says, the days of punishment have come, the days of recompense have come. Israel knows. The prophet is a fool, the spiritual man is insane because of the greatness of your iniquity and great enmity. So here we go. Here this is already chapter 9 of the book of Hosea, where the Most High is speaking against Israel because they've already had so much prostituting of themselves and practicing that iniquity and the adultery against the Most High by worshiping after other gods. That's the end result, the days of punishment. But the days of recompense also belong to those who remain faithful. So that was verse 3. And then for verse 4, going back over here just to highlight it again, we have, O Israel, your prophets are like foxes in the desert. We have Romans 16:18 that says, for those who are such do not serve the Most High Yasha HaMashiach, but their own belly, and by smooth words and flattering speech deceive the hearts of the simple. And Matthew 7:15, Messiah himself said, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. And there was another precept, I believe it's in Isaiah. I didn't include it. Very straight to the point that says it's the little foxes that destroy the vine. And I've always meditated on that scripture because I feel like it means like, the little things add up. Those words that we may feel are harmless, those little white lies, if you will, they build up to the point where it becomes a big, great deception and can cause one to stumble and one to fall and err and make errors in their ways. And then, okay, so verse 5. And again, this whole chapter is condemnation towards the prophets. So I don't know if maybe I should just go through and like point them out, because I don't going back and forth, it's I don't want to take up time. I know we already started a little bit late, so I want to be able to get through the entirety of the study tonight. But again, verse 5, we have connections again with Jeremiah 23, verse 22, that says, "But if they had stood in my counsel and had caused my people to hear my words, then they would have turned from their evil way and from the evil of their doings." So over and over, we see throughout the scriptures, throughout the prophets, that the Most High constantly gave the way, like he explained what you needed to do in order to be in right standing with him and to avoid that impending judgment that would come. We have another second witness in Ezekiel with chapter 22, verse 30, that says, "So I sought for a man among them who would make a wall and stand in the gap before me on behalf of the land, that I should not destroy it, but I found no one." And this is in reference, again, seeking a just prophet that would speak according to the truth of what the message was that the Most High had for the people, to try to bring them back into right standing with him. So we also have Isaiah 13:9 for verse 5, that says, "Behold, the day of the Adon comes, cruel with both wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he will destroy its sinners from it." Over and over again. I mean, I don't wanna beat a dead horse here. But we're gonna see over and over just how patient our Heavenly Father was back then, and just how patient, he is now with us, showing us his long suffering, that fruit of waiting for his bride to get it together and cleanse her garments. Now moving on to verse 6, we have Jeremiah 29, verse 8, that says, For thus says the Adon of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, do not let your prophets and your diviners who are in your midst deceive you, nor listen to your dreams which you caused to be dreamed." And also Jeremiah 37:19. "Where now are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, the king of Babylon?" Oh, and this is a repeat. So we already read this one. And we see that also throughout. There's a lot of the same, because again, he's reprimanding the prophets. So, and that's the focus once again of this chapter. We also have Second Thessalonians 2, verses 10 through 12. And it says, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason, the Most High will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And when we look at this precept, this precept is used widely now among the church, among the body of Mashiach, for various things. But ultimately, this is in regards to keeping the law and understanding that the law was not done away with, and the law is supposed to be our guide in everything that we do. It's our roadmap. It's our blueprint for how we should be living our lives. And a lot of people, of course, don't want to hear that, because many believe that it's impossible. It's impossible to keep the law. But if you really read through every single one of those commandments, those beautiful commandments that were given to us for us to live, um, his grace is sufficient, and he provides that grace in order for us to be able to keep the law, to have it written on the tablet of our hearts and be committed to it. And once you have that conviction, I feel like that's when it becomes simple. It's like, wow, like this was for my good. This is what I should have been doing all along. And I never understood it because I was allowing man to tell me that it was done away with. And that's the end of the matter. I mean, anybody who is in the majority of the four walls of churches these days will be able to say, yes, I've heard those words, that the law was done away with, that Messiah abolished, he came to abolish the law or fulfill it in the sense of the law was nailed to the cross, to the stake, to the tree. And that is absolutely false. Unfortunately, many are deceived. Yes, and that's absolutely right, Sylvia. It's not only in churches. I was actually having a conversation with someone today, with a family member, and this person was complimenting my walk, like telling me, you're such a great mother, you're raising your children so well, keep doing what you're doing, this and that. And when I encouraged him in the word, and I told him, I pray that, that the Father opens up your eyes, and that you give your heart over and allow Messiah to transform you so that you can live for him. He started saying some craziness about how Messiah is not perfect, only the Father is perfect. And it was just like, I was like, where is he even getting this from? Obviously, he's regurgitating something that he's seen somewhere, because this is not a person, obviously not a person who doesn't read the Bible, but maybe seeing videos or something on social media. So that just goes to show you, like, it's just, there's so much information out there, and we're in a digital age where everyone has a voice. And we've been talking about this a lot in this last week. There's been a lot of things going on in the spirit realm, and I've been having a lot of conversations with different people who are on this path, and everybody's feeling it. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that the Most High allows these things to happen, to prune us, to purify us, and to make us more like our Messiah. That's the end goal at the end of the day. And it's a good thing to look forward to, I believe, personally. So yeah. So moving forward, I also have Second Peter 2:18, that says, "For when they speak great swelling words of emptiness, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through lewdness, the ones who have actually escaped from those who live in error." And here we see, this is an ongoing theme as well, that like a lot of people know that Abba is calling them, know that Abba wants to do something in their life, but they run from it and they gratify their flesh instead. And that's a very scary place to be in, because if he's calling you and you are avoiding it, and you think, oh no, tomorrow I'll get it right. He knows my heart. His grace is gonna carry me, all of those different things. If the day of tomorrow Messiah returns and you are still saying tomorrow, it's going to be too late. So we have to live every day as if he's coming back today, pretty much. And we have to take it seriously, especially in these last days, because the signs in the heavens, the signs all around us, we're literally living in, as in the days of Noah, as in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. And yeah, it's the truth. We are in the end times. Absolutely. We are in the end times, and we have to come out of her, literally come out of her, my people. I also have, let's see, Matthew 24:23 through 24. This one is connecting to verse 7. And it says, "Then if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is Messiah,' or 'There,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. No one is void. No one is void of deception. We can't sit here and say that because we are walking this path, that there isn't going to be something that comes in our path to try to a little fox that's going to try to destroy the vine, meaning us connecting to that vine. That scripture is like coming back to me over and over and over again. We have to stay vigilant. That's what I feel with this particular precept. Um, for verse 8, I have Nahum 2, verse 13, and it says, Behold, I am against you, says the Adon of hosts. I will burn your chariots in smoke, and the sword shall devour your young lions. I will cut off your prey from the earth, and the voice of your messengers shall be heard no more. So these false prophets will only have a voice for a certain amount of time. It's only a matter of time before their mouths are going to get shut, and enough is enough, literally. And yes, Michelle, thank you for saying that. We all have flesh. We are all dust of the earth. And although we do strive to be holy as he is holy, we do strive for perfection. There are things inside of us that will spring forth when we least expect it. And that is the purpose of that constant pruning, the constant the need to constantly be in a posture of surrender to the Most High. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. That should be our daily prayer, even maybe every few hours. I know for me personally, sometimes it's like I need to like regroup throughout my day and be and you know tap into the vine, tap into my heavenly Father, tap in and say, Abba, keep me pure, purify my heart, do whatever you need to do in me, because I don't want to be like the world. I don't want to be like those around me. I don't want to be like this person who just got nasty with me, or whatever it is that may happen, throughout your day. Because again, it's like those things are gonna come around. We're in this world and we're not of it, but we're literally seeing this world all around us all throughout our day. Okay, verse 9. I feel like preaching tonight. Verse 9, we have Psalm 69:28. And let's go back for a minute, back to Ezekiel. So verse 9 says, My hands will be against the prophets who envision futility and who divine lies. They shall not be in the assembly of my people, nor be written in the record of the house of Yasharallah, nor shall they enter into the land of Israel. And this I want to add is the 12 gates, right? That we see in Revelations. Then you shall know that I am the Adon Elohim. He's going to show himself mighty over and over again, even for those who, like we spoke last week, I believe it was, I want to say it was was it chapter 12? I think it was the last portion. Yes. That there's people who were saying, like, when you've said all of these things, you've said all of these things are going to happen and they're not happening. Where is he? When is he coming? And we see that today, right? We'll talk to people, try to minister to people, try to evangelize and let them know, Messiah is coming soon. And they're like, oh, but he's been coming back for 2,000 years. Well, you got to be ready. The word says the bride made herself ready. And how did she make herself ready? By consecrating herself, by keeping her garments clean. And how do you keep your garments clean? By not having any impurities, and even like maybe trying to keep that garment waterproof in the sense of, like, like when something is waterproof, if liquid falls on it, it kind of rolls off. We gotta be strong enough to not let those impurities penetrate, because when we let them penetrate, that's when our heart becomes hardened. And when our heart becomes hardened, we start to see sin as if it's harmless. So yeah. um Also for verse 9, again, we have Revelations 20, verse 15, that says, and anyone not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So again, as we saw here, nor will they be written in the record of the house of Israel. So if the prophets in the beginning, or well, we would say in the middle of the book were saying it, and then it was said in the end of what's going to be in the end, we know that the word is fluid. We have to stop looking at it as if Old Testament, New Testament. The word itself from Genesis to Revelations is all one book with many extra biblical texts that should be included that were removed, but the meat of it is here. Even if we didn't have those extra biblical books, which give a lot of great context, they add a lot of details to give more understanding to why certain things happened. The book of Enoch really gives you a great elaboration on what happened in Genesis 6. It also helps you understand the signs in the heavens. The book of Jasher will help you understand Genesis and Exodus in more detail as well, because those two books are really they give you a really good foundation on um why the Most High began to do what he began to do, and why he made as many promises as well as many threats as he did, um to what consequences would be for not following his word. But I say all of that to say that even if we didn't have those, we have this that is the backbone to everything that we should be doing. And it's all fluid, all of it all together, because in the New Testament or the Gospels, however you want to say it, Messiah quotes from the books in the beginning, and so did Paul, and so did Peter, so did John, Jude, all of them. They all included all of these things. And even like I mentioned Enoch and Jasher because those books are mentioned throughout the scriptures. So for whatever reason, whoever the scribes were decided that they had to remove them, and possibly because they wanted us to stay dumbed down. um and I'm not trying to contradict what I'm saying and saying that this is all you need, but at the same time, this will get you this will get you where you need to go if you really, really, really decide to read it in context. Okay, so moving forward, we have also Jeremiah 6:14 for verse 10. Well, the next few precepts, the next four that I'm going to read are for verse 10. So Jeremiah 6:14 says, they have also healed the hurt of my people slightly, saying peace, peace, when there is no peace. And that's also something that I want to kind of elaborate on a little bit, because I've been seeing this particular precept a lot. I've shared it myself in regards to the state of the nations right now and what is to come. Because again, we all have to stay vigilant. We all have to stay vigilant. Don't lose sight of things if suddenly, financially things start to get easier and lighter. Um, great. Great if it does. Wonderful, because I know me personally, my grocery bill has been skyrocketing month after month. But at the same time, we can't get comfortable. And that's what I want to specify here. We're going to hear a lot about, oh, things are great. We're doing great things, but if you go back to Revelations, you'll see that there is that false Messiah, that false light that comes in to deceive the people. And how else are they going to do it but by giving us an easy life for a time? Yeah, peace and safety, exactly. So, yes, yes, we need to use that in our favor. We need to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves in these last days. So we also have Jeremiah 8, verses 9 through 13 that says, the wise men are ashamed, they are dismayed and taken. Behold, they have rejected the word of the Adon. So what wisdom do they have? Therefore, I will give their wives to others and their fields to those who will inherit them. Because from the least even to the greatest, everyone is given to covetousness. Oof, that's a strong word. From the prophet even to the priest, everyone deals falsely. For they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace. Were they ashamed when they committed abomination? No, they were not at all ashamed, nor did they know how to blush. Therefore, they shall fall among those who fall. In the time of their punishment, they shall be cast down, says the Adon. I will surely consume them, says the Adon. No grapes shall be on the vine, nor figs on the fig tree, and the leaf shall fade, and the things I have given them shall pass away from them. Again, strong words here with this covetousness. We must be very careful because remembering that we can easily fall into jealousy, comparison, envy without even realizing it. And suddenly that changes our perception of people around us just because we want what they want or what they have, rather. 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 3 through 4, it says, for when they say, and this is the verse of the week or the verse of the month, peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. Yes, yes, Liz. I know. As I was preparing for this study, I was like, wow, wow, the timing of these connections. Uh, um, we also have 1 Timothy 4, verses 1 and 2 that says, now the Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron. And what do I think when I read this? Reading this passage, it says that, I mean, it shows me that, again, no one is void of deception, and anyone can fall into speaking lies and receiving lies, in the sense of um you're saying something that resonates with my flesh, so I'm gonna agree with you because there's something in me. Oh yes, branding a cow with a hot iron. That's well, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, Michelle. What comes to your mind as you make that connection? But that's like what, like saying like I own you type of thing, right? Um, so when you receive a lie and you come into agreement with it, it takes you down a spiral of the wrong road, the like the wrong path. And in our pride and in our puffed upness, I guess, we can easily fall away in that aspect as well. But thank you for saying that, because that does make a lot of sense. Um, then verse 11, we have another confirmation in Ezekiel 38:22. Oh, and Jess, I'm sorry, you had shared a precept. Um, let's see. Let me go back up. Deuteronomy. I know I saw it. Deuteronomy 30, I believe it was. And I think I might have Deuteronomy 30 here, but maybe for another portion of the study. But Jess had shared Deuteronomy 30:11. This command I am giving for you today is not too difficult for you, and it is not beyond your reach. Amen. Absolutely. He says it over and over again too. It's like the commandments are not burdensome. I believe in the book of John, right? For first or second John, it says that too. All right, let me scroll back down here. And Jessica said that verse has always put fear in me because that's a scary thing to think about, having a reprobate mind. Yep, it is. It is. I mean, we have to that's why heart checks are so necessary. Like, I don't know when we all came to that to start speaking about the heart checks as a group. I don't remember when it was that I know it was through a portion, a study that we were in, and from there it started becoming our language when we would pray for Abba to check our hearts. And it's been beautiful because it shows that and not to be prideful, not to boast or anything, but it shows that we are truly after his heart and trying to allow him to mold us, for him to be um the potter and for us to be the clay, because without that level of surrender we're always going to be led by our flesh, as it says in that precept earlier that I read, the lust of the flesh. So easy to fall into that, man. Like, even on this walk, even as a Torah observant or Nazarene that people call themselves, it's very easy. It's very easy. Yes, repentance is daily, and the epistles have a lot of reminders to self-reflect constantly. And Yasha telling us to watch and pray and keep our lamps lit, as Yasmin said earlier as well. So important. So important. And I always go back to that. How do we keep our lamps lit? How do we produce that oil? Oil is only going to be produced through an olive that is pressed, that is beaten, that is shaken. So how else are we going to be able to produce that oil? It's by allowing him to press us, allowing him to constantly show us you were wrong here, you need to correct this over here, you need to stay on track over here. It's like I think of, and I think I shared this last week too. When you're in a boxing, I mean, if you've seen any form of boxing, you're in a boxing match, and um there's rounds, right? So you have your coach sitting in the corner waiting for you to come back, but he sends you out every single time to make this move, do this punch, watch this, because he's watching your opponent and he knows, or he's able to perceive the throws that the opponent is gonna make, right? And you come and you sit down, he gives you water, he like freshens you up a little bit and sends you back out. Keep going, keep fighting this good fight, but he's there. And that's the Ruach. That's the Ruach. That's our Messiah with us in the battle, with us in the fire as our coach. And Jessica said, and even understanding that the crushing and pressing is beautiful. It hurts, but we rejoice because we know why Abba allows things in our lives. What's on the other side is beautiful. Yes, yes. So true. So true. I 100% agree with you. Okay, continuing. So we have also, let's see. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Um, okay, so I have Lamentations 2, verses 14 and 15. And this one is with verse 12. And it says, your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not uncovered your iniquity to bring back your captives, but have envisioned for you false prophecies and delusions. All who pass by clap their hands at you. They hiss and shake their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that is called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? And we know that the Most High called Israel the apple of his eye. And he made so many promises about taking them to the land flowing with milk and honey, the promised land that he was going to give to them. So this is the outward, the people on the outside looking in, saying, you know, maybe I would say maybe Israel looking like the world, losing its splendor, losing its set apartedness. So it's a reminder for us too to always make sure that our actions, how we react to situations is not the same as how the world would react. Verse 13, we have Isaiah 30, verse 30, and it says, "The Most High will cause his glorious voice to be heard and show the descent of his arm with the indignation of his anger and the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering tempests and hailstones." We also have Revelation 11:9, which says, "Then those from the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations will see their dead bodies 3.5 days and not allow their dead bodies to be put into graves." And this is, I just want to give context with what we're connecting this with. And it says, "Therefore, says the Adon Elohim, I will cause a stormy wind to break forth in my fury, and there shall be a flooding rain in my anger and great hailstones in fury to consume it." So, as we spoke last week as well, with that, the coals of fire that came out of the cherubim, the Most High's fire is going to come down, whether it's in a spiritual manner or a physical, through natural disasters. We talked about the Yellowstone volcano last week as well, and how the activity in it, and how there's connecting volcanoes all around, that one big volcano that could literally obliterate the nation in within a 24-hour period. So yes, both physical and spiritual signs is what we may be seeing. Psalm 148 verses 6 through 8 says, "He also established them forever and ever. He made a decree which shall not pass away. Praise the Adon from the earth, you great sea creatures and all the depths, fire and hail, snow and clouds, stormy wind fulfilling his word." And we see the winds and the waves and all the natural disasters. They obey him. All creation obeys him. So how much more should we? We also have, again, connecting with with verse 13, Psalm 18, 12, and 13, that says, "From the brightness before him, his thick clouds passed with hailstones and coals of fire. The Adon thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, hailstones and coals of fire." And lastly, for that verse, we have Exodus 9:18 that says, "Behold, tomorrow about this time, I will cause a very heavy hail to rain down, such as has not been in Egypt since its founding until now." And this, of course, is part of the plagues that the Most High was pouring over Egypt to free Yasharallah. And yes, like Sylvie just said, Abba willing, we won't experience that wrath, because there will be protection for those who are marked, those who are in covenant with him. All right, now with verse 14, we have Micah 1:6, and it says, "Therefore I will make Samaria a heap of ruins in the fields, places for planting a vineyard. I will pour down her stones into the valley, and I will uncover her foundations." And if you don't know, Samaria was the capital of Israel, the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes that separated from Judah, who had absorbed Benjamin as well. So again, just as a refresher, as usual, we have the southern kingdom, which was Judah and Benjamin, and the north with the capital being Jerusalem. And then we have the northern kingdom with the capital being Samaria, which was the remaining 10 tribes. So this is the scattered nations. The northern kingdom is the scattered nations that were scattered to the four corners of the earth, basically us today, and what we are living now, even now. Also with verse 14, we have Jeremiah 6:15 that says, were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? No, they were not at all ashamed, nor did they know how to blush. Therefore, they shall fall among those who fall. At the time I punish them, they shall be cast down, says the Adon. So basically speaking here that everything that the people were doing, there was no remorse for their actions. They were just, committing these abominations, this iniquity against the Most High, without any fear, without any remorse. Does that sound familiar today? And then Jeremiah 14:15 that says, therefore, thus says the Adon concerning the prophets who prophesy in my name, whom I did not send, and who say, sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine, those prophets shall be consumed. So everything that these false prophets are speaking, were speaking in that time and are speaking now, all those false promises, it's gonna turn around and backfire on them. All right, verse 17, we have Revelation 2:20 and Isaiah 3:16 through 26. And so Revelation says, nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit such sexual immorality and eat things sacrificed to idols. So now we are shifting to the condemnation towards the prophetesses. So the daughters, what I guess said, likewise, son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people who prophesy out of their own heart, prophesy against them. And now we see in the churches, a lot, there are many women who are leading, but leading out of order in the sense of they are leading a whole congregation, spewing a lot of lies in order to gain, and they're leading people like sheep to the slaughter, basically. Um, and also not very Proverbs 31 like, I would say. It's very sad to see because it sets a false expectation in the world, and again, like I said, it's people who claim to be believers but are acting and doing and even dressing the way that the world does. So now we're going into that, prophesying. I mean, he was speaking against the women who prophesied. So we have also Isaiah 3:16 through 26, which says, moreover, the Adon says, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with outstretched necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, making a jiggling with their feet. Therefore, the Adon will strike with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Adon will uncover their secret parts. In that day, the Most High will take away the finery, the jingling ankles, the scarves and the crescents, the pendants, the bracelets and the veils, the headdresses, the leg ornaments and the headbands, the perfume boxes, the charms and the rings, the nose jewels, the festal apparel, and the mantles, the outer garments, the purses and the mirrors, the fine linen, the turbans and the robes, and so shall it be. Instead of a sweet smell, there will be a stench. instead of a sash, a robe, instead of a well-set hair, baldness, instead of a rich robe, a girding of sackcloth, and branding instead of beauty. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your mighty in the war. Her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit on the ground. Now, this is twofold because it's also speaking as the daughters of Zion being also the two houses, Israel and Judah. But if you think about it in the sense of women who are teaching false doctrine, we were even talking about this week, right? The Church of Ephesus, for example. The Church of Ephesus was a new church in Rome, who Paul was speaking to through Timothy. And these women that were in Ephesus were very wealthy. They dressed very they dressed very elaborately with rich clothing, and it made them targets. It made them targets for the men. The men would take advantage because they knew that they had money, and they would speak into their ears and lead them astray for their own personal gain. So that's why it's so important to remain chaste. So when I say that, I mean, just being very humble, um being very mindful of the way that you carry yourself, and in the physical as well as in the spiritual. Um, I go back again to Proverbs 31 because it is the perfect example. And as we were also, it's just so much scripture has come up this week about how Proverbs 31 is a mother teaching her son who was a king, meaning this man was already a grown man and he was gleaning from his mother to learn what a virtuous woman should be like, how a virtuous woman should carry herself. But again, this was his mother who was teaching him this. So yeah, so Jessica said, I'm seeing this too as spiritual in the sense of him saying they will have baldness, etc. Like that's what they truly look like in the spirit. Yes, as I was reading that, I was also thinking about how I think it's in the book of Corinthians, right? That it says the hair is the glory of the woman, or it's her covering. Um, and I would agree with you on that. That makes perfect sense, and it's a great connection to that as well. So next we have with verse 18, 2 Peter 2:14. Oh, what happened here? Okay. 2 Peter 2:14 says, having eyes full of adultery and that cannot cease from sin, enticing unstable souls. They have a heart trained in covetous practices and are accursed children. Also, 2 Timothy 4:3 that says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers. So meaning, they'll go to who is gratifying their flesh with their words, not really caring about what's the truth. Yes, it's hitting different for me too, and I didn't even expect it, to be completely honest. All right. So next we have for verse 19, Micah 3, verse 5, which says, thus says the Adon concerning the prophets who make my people stray, who chant peace while they chew with their teeth, but who prepare war against him who puts nothing in their mouths. And we see this who is capitalized. So who is it speaking about? These prophets are prophesying in the name of the Adon, literally speaking against the Most High. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how that is happening in this day with no irreverent fear towards the Most High. It's very disappointing and sad to see. Um, okay, next we have Jeremiah 23:17. And it says, and they continually say to those who despise me, the Adon has said, you shall have peace. And to everyone who walks according to the dictates of his own heart, they say, no evil shall come upon you. And I don't know about you, but Second Thessalonians 5, that precept has come up over and over and over again. Until I started preparing for this study this week, I did not realize how many times the prophets spoke the same exact thing. So we have those second, third, fourth, fifth witnesses all throughout with that promise or with that proclamation of you're going to hear it. You're going to hear people saying that things are great, but really they're going to be going downhill. So again, gotta remain vigilant. And hold on, I'm sorry. Let me check the chat because I saw somebody. Oh, okay. All right, sorry. Yeah, we had already read that. Okay, yes, false peace. Stay awake, stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. All right, moving on. We have with verse 20, 2 Timothy 3, verses 8 and 9, that says, now, as Jannes and Jambres resisted Moses, so do these also resist the truth, men of corrupt minds, disapproved concerning the faith, but they will progress no further, for their folly will be manifest to all, as theirs also was. So we know Jannes and Jambres were magicians who were against Moses, of course, who were um, speaking with. They were the sons of Balaam of Beor, right? Who Balaam of Beor was a prophet that was um, essentially being bribed to prophesy against Israel, and he failed. He was overcome, right, by the Most High. Thankfully, so for him, for his sake. But Jannes and Jambres were just another repetition of that or reproduction of that as his sons. And their end, they will progress no further, for their folly will be manifest to all. So those lies, at the end of the day, every truth will come to the light. All praises to the Most High for that. Okay, so moving on, we have with verse 22, 2 Peter 2, verses 18 and 19, which says, for when they speak great swelling words of emptiness, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through lewdness, the ones who have actually escaped from those who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are slaves of corruption. For by whom a person is overcome, by him also he is brought into bondage. So be careful who you lend your ear to. I heard that, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago. And it just came to me right now once again. And it's crazy how those types of messages carry so much different meaning in different seasons of our lives. But if anything, yes, we have to be very careful who we lend our ear to. Jessica shared Matthew 10:34 that says, do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. And what does a sword do? A sword divides. Great connection there. Thank you. Genesis 3:4-5. I'm sure we all know this story very well. But then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for the Most High knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like him, knowing good and evil. And again, this was connecting to verse 22, so let's go back to it for a minute. Because it says, because with lies you have made the heart of the righteous sad, whom I have not made sad, and you have strengthened the hands of the wicked. so that he does not turn from his wicked way to save a life. So we know that the fall of man began with a lie. And obviously, the original sin that we always dial back to, but it started with questioning the Most High from the beginning. Verse 23, we have just two more connections, and that completes chapter 13. Micah 3:6, it says, therefore you shall have night without vision, and you shall have darkness without divination. The sun shall go down on the prophets, and the day shall be dark for them. And then Revelations 12:9-11 says, so the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our Elohim day and night, has been cast down. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they did not love their lives to the death. So again, as I've been saying over and over again, and I may be very repetitious tonight in that sense, that we have to hate what he hates, love what he loves, and loving what he loves is loving the truth. Hating what he hates is hating the ways of this world, and not having those itching ears, being very, very careful to measure and test everything that we hear with 2 or 3 witnesses in the scriptures. So that's the end of chapter 13. Does anybody have anything to share? Well, you've all been sharing a lot, and I'm loving the dialogue and the participation tonight. Yasmin shared Philippians 1:21. Yes, for me to live is Yasha HaMashiach, and to die is gain. Because when we die, what are we gaining? We're gaining him, right? Ah, what a glorious day. Yes, I know, right? The Ruach knows exactly what we need when we need it. I just love Abba. All right, so chapter 14, who can read it?
I could read.
Okay, you need the screen, right?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So, you can just go ahead and read through. We'll do the same thing again.
Okay. Now some of the elders of Israel came to me and sat before me. And the word of the Most High came to me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their hearts, and put before them that which causes them to stumble into iniquity. Should I let myself be inquired of all by them? Therefore, speak to them and say to them, Thus says the Most High Elohim, every one of the house of Israel who sets up his idols in his heart and puts before him what causes him to stumble into iniquity, and then comes to the prophet, I, the Most High, will answer him who comes according to the multitude of his idols, that I may seize the house of Israel by their hearts, because they are all strange from me by their idols. Therefore say to the house of Israel, Thus says the Most High, repent, turn away from your idols, and your faces away from all your abomination. Can you scroll for me? Sorry. For every one of the house of Israel, or of the strangers who dwell in Israel, who separates himself from me and sets up his idols in his heart and put before him what causes him to stumble into iniquity, then comes to a prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I, the Most High, will answer him by myself. I will set my face against that man and make him a sign and a proverb, and I will cut him off from the midst of my people. Then you should know that I am the Most High. And if the prophet is induced to speak anything, I, the Most High, have induced that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand against him and destroy him from among my people, Israel. And they shall bear their iniquity. The punishment of the prophet should be the same as the punishment of the one who inquired. But the house of Israel may not longer stray from me, nor be profane any more with their transgression, but that they may be my people and I might be their Elohim, says the Most High Elohim. The word
I'm
of
sorry, Sylvie. Let's pause right there. Since there's a division here, it gives us give us a little bit more like able for us to be able to discuss a little bit more. Sorry. I'll let you know then. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we see here now, and how timely. Now we are seeing that he is speaking against idolatry, against not looking to a man to show them the way. And not only that, any person who is setting up idols in their heart, whether that be another person, whether that be a place, a thing, we know what can become idols in our lives, right? Relationships, money, possessions, these things that can easily become a god. Yes, you shall have no other gods before me. So that's very key to remember. This is speaking against not keeping commandment number 2. So let's talk about some connecting precepts here. We have first off Isaiah 1:15 that says, "When you spread out your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood." And that's referring to those who are turning towards these idols, who have set up the idols in their heart. And so basically the Most High is instructing Ezekiel, don't answer anyone who has these idols. Rather tell them, turn away, turn your faces, repent and turn away from those idols, and turn your faces away from all of your abominations. So these are the consequences. We're going to read about certain consequences associated in verse 3 and what that looks like too. So 1 Peter 2:8 says, "And a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. They stumble, being disobedient to the word to which they also were appointed." Sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my English tonight. We also have Proverbs 28 verse 9 that says, "One who turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer is an abomination." So again, we're speaking about commandment number 2 right now, which, sorry, I'm trying to think of something. No, never mind. So we know that if we're not keeping the law, if we're not wanting to hear the law, then our prayers are not going to reach the heavens. If we're not keeping his Torah, how is he going to listen to us? So also, if we have idols, if we're living in idolatry and looking to a person, a place, or thing for fulfillment or for even guidance over his word and who he is, then that's going to be a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense between us and him. Our Messiah was referred as this, as a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. He's the firm foundation. He's the chief cornerstone. But to other people, this is what he could be. And this is what certain people may look at the law as a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. But our Mashiach is that he could be looked at as that because of the fact that people don't want to hear the truth, when the truth will really just set them free if they would allow it. Yes, that's the true meaning of the stumbling block. All right. Continuing, we have Jeremiah 11:11, and we're still in verse 3. It says, therefore, thus says the Most High, behold, I will surely bring calamity on them, which they will not be able to escape. And though they cry out to me, I will not listen to them. 1 Samuel 28:6. And when Saul inquired of the Adon did not answer him, either by dreams or by Urim or by the prophets. And why did the Most High not answer Saul? Because Saul was in idolatry. Saul was being disobedient. Saul was not heeding the words of the prophet Samuel when Samuel was telling him what the Most High was instructing him to do. He was following the lust of his flesh, right? By wanting those additional possessions, or keeping the cattle alive and not killing every single thing when he was instructed to do just that. So there's a perfect purpose and order in everything that the Father instructs his people to do. And if we would just listen, we would see how we would be able to inherit all of the promises that he has for us. Yes, absolutely. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. Okay, so now moving to verse 4. So now we're here where the Most High is saying, thus says the Adon, everyone of the house of Israel who sets up idols in his heart and puts before him what causes him to stumble into iniquity, and then comes to the prophet. So you're setting up all of these idols in your heart. And now, because you have all of these idols in your heart, you have all of this calamity in your life. You have all of this oppression and these difficulties. So now you're going to go to the prophet for advice, and he's going to turn his ear away from you. He's not going to hear from the Most High for you because you're out of order and you're not following his ways. So we have Isaiah, let me see. This was supposed to be Isaiah 66. Let me fix that really quick. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, Isaiah 66 verse 4 says, so will I choose their delusions and bring their fears on them, because when I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they did not hear, but they did evil before my eyes and chose that in which I do not delight, turning away from him over and over again. We also have 2 Kings 1:16. It says, then he said to them, thus says the Most High, because you have sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, is it because there is no Elohim in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore you shall not come down from the bed which you have gone up, but you shall surely die. You've heard of that saying of getting in bed with the devil. This is the epitome of that, or a great example of that. Inquiring of a different God, of something that is not of him. So what does that look like today? Horoscopes, palm readings, even the Ouija board, unfortunately, that people still do. But ultimately it's not seeking his face for guidance on the way that we should be moving and living and breathing and having our very being. Yes, conjuring spirits. Exactly. Thank you. All right, so we also have verse 5 now. My goodness, that's so true. Hypnotism. And you know what's crazy is that even now in the medical field, in psychiatry or psychology, people use hypnotism in order to bring back old memories and to process trauma and stuff like that. And they think that they're doing a good thing, but really they're tapping into something in the spirit that they really shouldn't be. So good addition to that as well. Yes, a lot of transcendental meditation as well. My goodness. All right. Verse 5, we have Isaiah 1, verse 4, that says, Alas, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a brood of evildoers, children who are corrupters. They have forsaken the Adon. They have provoked to anger the Holy One of Israel. They have turned away backward. And Hebrews 3:12, it says, Beware, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living Elohim. So easily we can be led astray, so easily we can fall. 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 9 through 11. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan with all powers, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. And for this reason, the Most High will send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. I think I might have read this already. But again, it's an ongoing theme, whether it's a false prophet or whether you have idolatry in your heart, that can easily lead you into a strong delusion of believing a lie. And I will be the first one to admit that even now, Abba is still working in me and convicting me about idolatry, and not looking to anyone but him to be the one that has the last say in my life and in anything that I do, in any way and any decision that I make in my life. Always wanting to be Ruach led. We say that over and over again. We say we want to be led by him, yet when somebody says something, unfortunately, sometimes it may carry more weight than what the truth is. So we got to sharpen our discernment. Pray for sharpened discernment. I may only be speaking for myself, but this is something that I am learning in this season as well. All right, so moving forward with verse 6, we have James 4, 8 through 10. And it says, draw near to Allah, to the Most High, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Lament and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Adon, and he will lift you up. And again, this is connecting to verse 6, where he was saying, where the Most High said, repent, turn away from your idols, and turn your faces away from all of your abominations. Very, very similar to repent and believe in the gospel. And allow it to change you. So then we also have Hosea 14, 1 through 3. And it says, O Israel, return to the Adon your Elohim, for you have stumbled because of your iniquity. Take words with you and return to the Adon. Say to him, take away all iniquity, receive us graciously, for we will offer the sacrifices of our lips. Assyria shall not save us. We will not ride on horses, nor will we say any more to the work of our hands, you are our gods. For in you the fatherless finds mercy. Sorry. I don't want to have a cough attack here. So again, we see here that he's instructing his people over and over again. And again, the story of Hosea It is about a man who is instructed to marry a prostitute and to love her despite her prostitution. But in the midst of it, of course, we see the Most High expressing the comparison to how Israel has been idolatrous and adulterous, going after other Allahims, going after other gods, and allowing that noise to be louder than the word of the Most High himself. And lastly, for verse 6, we also have Jeremiah 50, verses 4 and 5, and it says, in those days and at that time, says the Adon, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together. With continual weeping they shall come and seek the Adon their Elohim. They shall ask the way to Zion, with their faces toward it, saying, come and let us join ourselves to the Adon in a perpetual covenant that will not be forgotten. And I believe, as the captivity and wilderness that we are in now, Yasharala, having awakenings as we have been in these, I don't know, last few years or so, this is where we are. We are coming into the knowledge of the truth, grieving for the life that we have been living up until now, lamenting for the mistakes that we made, but also having the conviction to turn a new leaf and say, I am going to live for him. I am going to do what his word says. I am going to seek the scriptures out for myself and learn so that I may be like my Messiah and display the fruits of the Ruach HaKodesh, so that I may enter into those gates, those 12 gates, one of the 12 gates, again listed in Revelations. With verse 7, we have Hosea 9:10, and it says, I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first fruits on the fig tree in its first season. But they went to Baal Peor and separated themselves to that shame. They became an abomination like the thing that they loved. So if we go back over here to verse 7, I'm going to reread it, and it says, for anyone of the house of Israel or of the strangers who dwell in Israel. So here we see the strangers, the sojourners, the mixed multitude, or the grafted in, who separates himself from me and sets up his idols in his heart and puts before him what causes him to stumble into iniquity, then comes to a prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I, the Adon, will answer him by myself. So we see here the connection is that what he established Israel to be, like grapes in the wilderness, first fruits of the fig tree in its first season. That was how he envisioned them. But then they went to Baal Peor and separated themselves to that shame. They separated themselves unto the idol worship. They became an abomination like the thing that they loved. Jude 1:19 also says, these are sensual persons who cause divisions, not having the Spirit. These are those who are following after other gods. Isaiah 58, verse 1 and 2 says, cry aloud, spare not. Lift your voice like a trumpet. Tell my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their Elohim. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching the Elohim. So again, we're seeing here that there is a distinction between the ones who turn away from him and the remnant, those who stay steadfast and faithful unto the end. And that's the goal, isn't it? For us to, no matter what happens, we are not forsaking him and staying connected to him, even when everyone else around us is turning away. Next we have with verse 9, Jeremiah 14:15. Therefore, thus says the Adon concerning the prophets who prophesy in my name, whom I did not send, and who say sword and famine. Oh, I also read this one already. So let me keep moving. We have Psalm 81:11 and 12. And it says, but my people who would not heed my voice, and Israel who would have none of me. So I gave them over to their own stubborn heart to walk in their own counsels. This sounds very similar to that precept about the strong delusion as well. So a mind set against him and a stubborn heart as well. Our heart is deceitful, and a lot of times it drives a lot of the things that we do. So that's why we got to check it constantly. Now, I think we stopped at verse 11. So I just have some connections here with verse 11. And yes, it can be confused with his voice because we want to gratify the flesh. And we want that which feels good or feels right. Yeah. All right. We also have then now Jeremiah 31:33. And it says, but this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Adon. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Zechariah 13:9. I will bring the 1/3 through the fire, will refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, this is my people, and each one will say, the Adon is my Elohim. And then I also have Hebrews 11:16. And it says, but now they desire a better, that is a heavenly country. Therefore, the Adon is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared a city for them. And that is for those who are the 1/3 that have been taken through the fire, those who enter into covenant and have the law on their minds, written on their hearts, those who he says, I will be their Elohim and they will be my people. I had one more, but I guess it's not included here. So we'll go ahead and continue. Sylvie, you can finish the chapter.
Okay. The word of the Most High came again to me, saying, Son of man, when a land sins against me by persistent unfaithfulness, I will stretch out my hand against it, and I will cut off its supply of bread, send famine on it, and cut off man and beast from it. Even if these three men, Noah, David, and Job, were in it, they will deliver only themselves by their righteousness, says the Most High Elohim. If I cause wild beasts to pass through the land, and they empty it, and make it so desolate that no man may pass through it because of the beasts. Even though these three men were in it, as I live, says the Most High, they will deliver neither sons nor daughter, only they will be delivered, and the land will be desolate. Or if I bring a sword on that land, and say, Sword, go through the land, and I will cut off man and beast from it. Even though these three men were in it, as I live, says the Most High Elohim, they will deliver neither sons nor daughter, but only they themselves will be delivered. Or if I send a pestilence into that land and pour out my fury on it in blood and cut off from it man and beast, even though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, says the Most High, they will deliver neither sons or daughter. They will deliver only themselves by their righteousness. For thus says the Most High Elohim, how much more it shall be when I send my fourth severe judgment on Jerusalem, the sword and famine and wild beast and pestilence, to cut off man and beast from it. Yet, behold, there shall be left in it a remnant, who will be brought out, both sons and daughters. Surely they will come out to you, and you will see their ways and their doings. Then you will be comforted concerning the disasters that I have brought upon Jerusalem, all that I have brought upon it. And they will comfort you when you see their ways and their doings, and you should know that I have done nothing without cause, that I done in it, says the Most High Elohim.
This is a tough portion here because, as we can see, there's a reference to Noah, Daniel, and Job, who we know were righteous men. And the Most High is literally saying, if these three men were in it, even in the disaster, they would deliver only themselves by their righteousness, which means to say, it goes back to that scripture that says we must work out our soul salvation with fear and trembling. This walk is personal and it's individual. And as much as we want to take those that we love with us, I for one have been very, very, I guess you could say, direct with my children and telling them, and you can ask my 15-year-old, I've been telling him this since he was 5, that my prayers for him can only take him so far. And although, yes, I am his mother, I am essentially the head in this household, the Most High is our head, our Messiah is our covering. And he has to have, they have to have their own personal relationship with him. And there's only so much that I can do. There's only so much that I can do. And I can lose myself in trying to save somebody else. We can lose ourselves. I'll say that again. We can lose ourselves going after another person and trying to be their savior. So that's one main theme that I got out of reading this portion. But of course, we do have some precepts to make connections here. Starting with verse 12. And I say that with a heavy heart, trust me, believe me, because I would love nothing more than to just be able to carry all 4 of my children on my back, my parents, my siblings, my nieces, nephews, all of those people that I love so much, and beyond my bloodline. There's more. There's so many people that I love, who I see them lost, or like not living life the way that they should, for the Most High, yet my hands are tied, because all I can do, and the best thing that I can do, the best thing that we can all do, is live by example. Let our light shine so that they are able to see how important it is, to stay connected. Yes, absolutely, Liz.
Okay, sorry, so I'm driving.
No,
I had picked up my voice now. But anyhow, I wanted to add to that because I felt every word that you were sharing, how, so many times we want to truly almost like force people into opening their eyes and believing the gospel, right? Believing the truth. But I do think, however, that we should always not lose sight of going hard after the one. even though we cannot force them, we can always model what Messiah did, which was the biggest example, which was death to self, in order for at least one soul to make it. So I don't know, I just wanted to add that, because I think many times we not that you were saying that stuff, but I just wanted to add that sometimes we want to stop ourselves because we're like, oh, we're never going to change their minds, and we get discouraged even along the way when we see nothing's going to change, but it doesn't mean that that seed is not bearing fruit. So just want to encourage each and one of you that is connected, that not give up, to continue laboring, for the word says that the harvest is ready. Messiah said the harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. And it doesn't mean that we just give up. So it didn't work maybe with one person, but we continue, and we continue stronger, just as he did. He didn't lose his hope in his creation, right? Even though his creation sucks. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Love you guys.
Amen. Thank you. She's talking about flesh.
Oh.
Brandon's here. He just got home.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you something. What
What?
have I told you about my prayers for you?
What?
About how my prayers will carry you.
They'll only carry me so much that I have that, like, I don't know exactly what she said, but she said that it, like, her prayers will only carry me so much that I have to pray myself. Like, you can't pray for someone and think that it'll happen. Like, they have to pray too, right?
Yes. Good job. Thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
Bye. I love
All
you.
right, I love you.
He literally just walked in. But yeah, I agree. I totally agree with what Liz is saying. So and thank you for adding that, because we shouldn't let our hearts get hardened in the sense of going after those who the Most High has assigned to us. But at the end of the day, everybody has their free will, and we can only hope that the seeds that we plant will bear fruit. So yeah. Thank you for that, Liz. Thank you for adding that. I needed to hear it too. So with that being said, we have our connecting precepts here. So with verse 13, just going back again. So it says, Son of man, when a land sins against me by persistent unfaithfulness, I will stretch out my hand against it. I will cut off its supply of bread, send famine on it, and cut off man and beast from it. So these are the four. So it later on here we see the four, I believe it's, let me see. I want to get the correct wording. The four severe judgments. So we see, I will cut off its supply of bread, send famine on it, and cut off man and beast from it. So you would think cutting off its supply of bread and sending famine on it, aren't those two the same thing? Well, when I read it, I don't know. I felt like it was referring also to when you think of supplying the bread of life, his word being removed, his word being something that is not easily accessible, or his ruach being removed, so to speak. So we have Leviticus 26:26 that says, when I have cut off your supply of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall bring back your bread by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied. This is a little bit different, of course. And I believe this is speaking of physical bread, so famine in that sense. Or how just, that they'll have, but they'll never be satisfied. Like they have the word right in front of them, but it's not enough. And that's where the hardened heart comes in, if you think about it as well. I also have Daniel 9:10-12 that says, we have not obeyed the voice of the Most High, our Elohim, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Yes, all Israel has transgressed your law and has departed so as not to obey your voice. Therefore, the curse and the oath written in the law of Moses, the servant of Haya, have been poured out on us because we have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his word, which he spoke against us and against our judges who judged us, by bringing upon us a great disaster. For under the whole heaven, such has never been done as what has been done to Jerusalem. And recall that Daniel also was present during the time of the captivity. So he's speaking things also in unison with what the Most High was saying to Ezekiel. Sylvie said, I kind of feel in the physical, we are there. Look at how much we eat, but never have enough. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, and we have, right now, we have free access to the word. And so many people take it for granted, unfortunately. And I'm so glad that we get together, we get to be together here week after week and eat of his word, eat of his flesh, because that's what our Mashiach wanted us to do. All right, now continuing, we have Jeremiah 15:1. And it says, Then the Adon said to me, even if Moses and Samuel stood before me, my mind would not be favorable toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. So here we're seeing it was Noah, Daniel, and Job. And in Jeremiah, it's Moses and Samuel being spoken of. So ongoing theme of righteous men in the word. And I'm sorry, give me just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and then also with verse 14, we have Jeremiah 11:14 that says, Do not pray for this people or lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry out to me because of their trouble. And then again, 2 Peter 2:9 that says, Then the Adon knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations and to reserve the unjust under punishment for the day of judgment. So again, we see here, there's a distinction between those who are living for him and those who are turned against him. Those who are living for him, it is not us. It is not us who are being like, who are taking ourselves out of the temptations that we face on a daily basis. It's his ruach on the inside of us, leading us and guiding us and helping us to turn away from that wickedness day after day and moment after moment. So gotta stay, again, over and over again, I say it, stay vigilant. Next we have Leviticus 26:22, and it says, I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children, destroy your livestock, and make you fewer in number, and your highways shall be desolate. And again, this is going towards verse 15. If I cause wild beasts to pass through the land and they empty it and make it so desolate that no man may pass through because of the beasts. I'm going to go on to 16. Even though these 3 men were in it, as I live, says the Adon Elohim, they would deliver neither sons nor daughters, only they would be delivered and the land would be desolate. All right, so that was 15 and 16 connection. And we also have Jeremiah 15:3 that says, and I will appoint over them 4 forms of destruction, says the Adon. Again, these were the 4 severe judgments. The sword to slay, the dogs to drag, the birds of the heavens, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. So these are, I would say, also physical type judgments, which we also see here in Zephaniah 1:3 that says, I will consume man and beast. I will consume the birds of the heavens, the fish of the sea, and the stumbling blocks along the wicked. I will cut off man from the face of the land, says the Adon. And that was actually a connection to verse 17. Which again, these are pretty much fluid because that portion, all of it really connects together. So then we have Jeremiah 14:12, and it says, when they fast, I will not hear their cry. When they offer burnt offerings and grain offering, I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. And then also we have Revelation 16:3-6 that says, then the second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it became blood as of a dead man, and every living creature in the sea died. Then the third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters saying, you are righteous, O Adon, the one who is, and who was, and who is to be, because you have judged these things. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for it is their just due. So this is obviously his pouring out of his wrath, and we're seeing that in Revelations, which means it's something that's happening in the last days. So we could easily see that this portion here is also apocalyptic in that nature, speaking of what's going to be happening for those who turn away from him and refuse to lend their ear to his truth. I am going to skip Amos 4:10 because, well, I'm going to read a larger portion of that chapter in a minute. Then we also have 1 John 3:7-10 that says, little children, let no one deceive you. He who practices righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous. He who sins is of the devil, for the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose, the Son of the Elohim was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whoever has been born of the Elohim does not sin, for his seed remains in him, and he cannot sin because he has been born of Haya. In this, the children of the Most High and the children of the devil are manifest. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of the Elohim, nor is he who does not love his brother. So we see this is speaking of sin, and we know that sin is defined as being transgression of the law. We have a mention of one of the commandments, which is love your neighbor as yourself, right? But this is basically summing up everything to say that we must strive to not sin. And I know, like I said, we all have things in us that we must constantly be searching out to allow the Most High to remove. But it's very important to understand the importance of repentance and what it truly means. It's not just saying, I'm sorry. It's truly turning away from the wickedness and the sin that we have been living in and not to sin in that same way again. And as we overcome a particular sin in our life, something else may spring up to show us another area that we need to be refined in. So that is the goal, is to practice righteousness and resist the enemy so that he would flee from our lives. So we also see 1 John 2:29 that says, if you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone who practices righteousness is born of him. And what is righteousness? We spoke of that in the studies of Isaiah. To be Sadiq or Sadakar is righteousness, and that means to be set apart and to keep his Torah. It ultimately always boils down to that, is keeping his perfect instructions that he gave us as the roadmap and the blueprint on how to live our lives. Then we have Hosea 10:12 that says, sow for yourselves righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Adon till he comes and rains righteousness on you. And then we also have, as I mentioned, I wanted to read a larger portion of Amos 4, verses 6-12. And it says, also, I gave you cleanness of teeth in all your cities and lack of bread in all your places. Yet you have not returned to me, says the Adon. I also withheld rain from you when there were still 3 months to the harvest. I made it rain on one city. I withheld rain from another city, and one part was rained upon, and where it did not rain, the part withered. So 2 or 3 cities wandered to another city to drink water, but they were not satisfied. Yet you have not returned to me, says the Adon. I blasted you with blight and mildew. When your gardens increased, your vineyards, your fig trees, and your olive trees, the locusts devoured them. Yet you have not returned to me, says the Adon. I sent among you a plague after the manner of Egypt. Your young men I killed with the sword, along with your captive horses. I made the stench of your camps come up into your nostrils, yet you have not returned to me, says the Adon. I overthrew some of you as the Adon overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and you were like a firebrand plucked from the burning. Yet you have not returned to me, says the Most High. Therefore, thus will I do to you, O Yasharallah, because I will do this to you, perhaps to meet your Adon, O Yasharallah. Or prepare to meet your Adon, O Yasharallah. This, there's a lot of symbolism in this portion, in these few verses here. But basically, what we want to understand is that he will withhold certain things from our lives if we are out of order, just to bring us back, bring us back into right standing with him. And I had this connection with verse 20. But again, like I said, it's actually verse 19 and everything, and every verse in this portion, but verse 19, or if I send pestilence into the land and pour out my fury on it in blood and cut off from it man and beast. Meaning to say, like, if you see examples of famine, you see examples of natural disasters and people dying, and you take it lightly and you don't think that it's judgment, you don't think that it's his wrath being poured upon the world, then you're gonna fall away and you're gonna you're gonna be cut off, just like those examples that he is making. And again, all of this is like, I don't know, it's very, very heavy, very scary to be in the position of taking his word lightly. And I don't, I want to give like hope, like what Liz was saying earlier, because his word is not all darkness and doom, but his desire, as we've seen throughout our studies, is for us to be and maintain that covenant that was made from the beginning with him, those marriage vows. I don't know that we're going to get to chapter 16 tonight because it's already late. And chapter 16, I believe, is the one that goes deep, deep, deep into the marriage covenant. I was really, truly loving going over everything that had to do with this chapter. But I think because I really want us to like receive what's in there, that I'm gonna withhold that until next week so that we can, so that we can really, because then we would just be rushing through those 63 verses. But I think if you guys are down, we can finish chapter 15, which is just 8 verses. And we don't have to go through all of the connections because I do have quite a few for like verse 3. But we can keep it concise just so that we get the gist of it as well. But yeah, let me complete the last few connections that we have here. I'm gonna skim through some of them. Let's see. So Revelation 6 is more again about judgment. Micah 5:7, and it says, the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people, like dew from the Adon, like showers on the grass that tarry for no man, nor wait for the sons of men. This is the remnant. So we see, as I mentioned in the beginning of the study today too, that Ezekiel and all of the other prophets, that they would say, this is the consequence of your iniquity, this is the consequence of your adultery, but if you repent and you turn away from your wickedness, then you will be part of that remnant, then you'll be part of those people who are going to receive the promise. And so we see also in Mark 13:20, it says, and unless the Adon had shortened those days, no flesh would be saved, but for the elect's sake, whom he chose, he shortened the days. And Deuteronomy 8:2 says, and you shall remember that the Adon your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So as the Israelites were tested in the wilderness, as we are in a spiritual wilderness here and now, we're being tested. We're being tested to see, are we going to remain steadfast? Are we going to stick to his truth, stick to his word, and keep him first and foremost in our lives? And let's see. I just want to see if there's anything else, because again, I have a lot here. Let me read Revelations 15:4, and it says, who shall not fear you, O Adon, and glorify your name? For you alone are holy. For all nations shall come and worship before you, for your judgments have been manifested. And Daniel 9:14, that says, therefore the Adon has kept the disaster in mind and brought it upon us. For the Adon our Elohim is righteous in all the works which he does, though we have not obeyed his voice. And lastly, we have Deuteronomy 8:2, and you shall remember. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I already read this one. So yes, once again, the whole purpose of all of it is testing to see whether or not we would keep his commandments. And I pray that we would. I pray that we would keep that on the forefront of our minds, because just as, and I don't want to say that this happens in every single relationship, but we want to see actions, right? Actions over words, not just, promises of I love you and words that tickle our ears, but we want to see actions. How much more does our Heavenly Father want to see the same in us? So yeah, with that, that's chapter 14. And again, I guess we can take a quick vote. Do you guys want to finish chapter 15, or do we want to just pause until next week? I know it's already midnight. Is everybody there? If anything, I can read the chapter. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I'll read the chapter just so that I can make the connections as I go along, and maybe that'll help us wrap it up a little bit quicker. All right. So chapter 15. Then the word of the Adon came to me, saying, Son of man, how is the wood of the vine better than any other wood? The vine branch, which is among the trees of the forest, is wood taken from it to make any object? Or can men make a peg from it to hang any vessel on? Instead, it is thrown into the fire for fuel. The fire devours both ends of it, and its middle is burned. Is it useful for any work? Indeed, when it was whole, no object could be made from it. how much less will it be useful for any work when the fire has devoured it and it is burned? Therefore, thus says the Adon Alahim, like the wood of the vine among the trees of the forest, which I have given to the fire for fuel, so I will give up the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will set my face against them. They will go out from one fire, but another fire shall devour them. Then you shall know that I am the Adon, when I set my face against them. Thus I will make the land desolate, because they have persisted in unfaithfulness, says the Adon Alahim. So very quick, very short and concise chapter, but a lot of symbolism here, of course, with the wood and the vine. Makes me think a lot about the branches, the grafting in. And I saved Romans 11 for chapter 16, because again, chapter 16 does talk a lot about covenant. But this chapter also reminds me a lot about the importance of being grafted in and not being cut off. So with that being said, let me just jump into the connections here. So we have with verse 2, which started talking about, of course, the wood. We have Luke 14:3-35, and it says, salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor for the dunghill, but men throw it out. He who has ears, let him hear. So this is obviously, we're not talking about wood here, but it's a similar metaphor in the sense that it's speaking of the importance of the flavor of salt. So again, if the wood of the vine is taken to make an object, or if it's thrown into the fire for fuel and both ends are dried, what good is it if it's burned and charred, basically? What good is salt if salt doesn't have its flavor? Just, parallel metaphors, if you will, in that sense. We also have Jeremiah 24:8 that says, and as the bad figs which cannot be eaten, they are so bad. Surely thus says the Adon, so will I give up Zedekiah, the king of Judah, the princes, the residue of Jerusalem, who remain in this land, and those who dwell in the land of Egypt. And this is, again, a parallel verse, because this is describing what was happening in that time, as Zedekiah, the king of Judah, being the last king that went into the captivity in Babylon. For verse 3, we have John 15:6 that says, if anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. So our Mashiach spoke these words about withered branches and what would happen to them being thrown into the fire. Isaiah 27:11 says, when its boughs are withered, they will be broken off. The women come and set them on fire, for it is a people of no understanding. Therefore, he who made them will not have mercy on them, and he who formed them will show them no favor. So we see here again another connection with the the boughs of a tree. So the branches of a tree being broken off and being set on fire. So as easily, well, I don't want to say as easily, but as quickly as you can be grafted in, you can also be cut off for rebellion, or for turning away and not being disobedient to the Father. Also, Hebrews 6:8 says, but if it bears thorns and briars, it is rejected and near to being cursed, whose end is to be burned. This is also speaking about branches, but if the branch has thorns and briars, if we see this as a representation of rebellion, of sin, of disobedience, then it will be rejected and burned. as the end result. Then we also have, and these you can, if you're taking notes, you can put these beside verses 2 and 3, connecting that area. So we also have Matthew 3:12, and it says, his winnowing fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly clean out his threshing floor and gather his wheat into the barn, and he will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. And I know that we've talked about this before, the separation of the wheat and the chaff. So we know that wheat and chaff, wheat and tares, they grow together. But once the wheat is harvested, the chaff is removed. It's you can, I've seen videos before, and I think maybe perhaps we've all seen it in the past, where a piece of wheat and chaff is like you're able to put it between your hands and like rub it, and it's easier for the chaff to get rubbed off, and the wheat stays like firm if you look at it. If I find a video, I'll share it. But yeah, that's a representation of us as the wheat, and the chaff being those who are unbelieving. Oh, yes, Jessica. Something cool too. Jessica says something cool too is that the wheat bows down, but the chaff stays sticking up. Yes, that's so true. That is so true. And then we also have Malachi 4:1 that says, for behold, the day is coming, burning like an oven, and all the proud, yes, all who do wickedly will be stubble, and the day which is coming shall burn them up, says the Adon of hosts, that will leave them neither root nor branch. And we know, as we have discussed at length as well, that the Most High is the fire. He is the refiner, and he takes us through the fire to refine us, to remove all of those all of the chaff from our life, all of the imperfections and impurities that are within us. But at the same time, we must remember that there will be a burning away or removal and separation from those who are just completely in sin. So the fire serves a purpose for that as well. And then I also have Zechariah 1:6, and this is connecting with verse 6, and it says, yet surely my words and my statutes which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not overtake your fathers? So they returned and said, just as the Adon of hosts determined us to do, according to our ways and according to our deeds, so he has dealt with us, meaning you will reap what you sow. Revelations 3:16, so then because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth. And other translations also say I will spit you out. But in any way that you put it, basically it's saying I think the prior verse in that is you're either hot or cold, but because you are lukewarm, right? But of course we want to be hot. We want to burn for him. Or I'm sorry, it is included there. I don't even know how I didn't notice that. It flew over my head. But yes, we must remain burning within for him as well. Then I also have for verse 7, Psalm 34:16, and it says, the face of the Adon is against those who do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. So a lot of repetition about the cutting off. Jeremiah 21:10, for I have set my face against the city for adversity and not for good, says the Adon. It shall be given into the hands of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. So we also see how the Most High allowed the land of the Israelites to be handed over to an unrighteous king, and he ended up burning the whole thing down, maybe to start fresh, right? Possibly. I'm just saying. And then the last two connecting precepts, this is still with verse 7. It says, I will set my face against you and you shall be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate you shall reign over you, and you shall flee when no one pursues you. Lastly, for verse 8, we have Zephaniah 1:18, and it says, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Adon's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he will make speedy riddance of all those who dwell in the land. And this is just a reminder that earthly possessions will not do anything for us when that day comes. So yes, it's great to have provision. It's great to have, things here that help us move forward in life. Food on our tables, in our fridges, and a home, a roof over our heads, a car to be able to get where we need to go. But keeping in mind that all the kings, the righteous and the unrighteous, most of the time easily fell away because of the power and wealth that they had. It's almost like they should have never had that much power. But because of the fact that the Israelites begged for a king, they got what they desired, and it backfired. So just something to keep in mind. I think of humility in that. And again, not to say that nobody in the kingdom should be wealthy, nobody in the kingdom should have good things, or here in this realm. But at the same time, humility is key no matter what. And also being a cheerful giver in being willing to help those around us, and bearing that fruit of goodness and faithfulness, and walking in love. So with that being said, this concludes our study for tonight. I know at the beginning I said that we would be going through chapters 13 through 16, but I think that we stopped just where we needed to, and we will pick it back up next week. Shalom.